Welcome to the FarmEd podcast. This is episode number 12. I'm Alexis Sinclair, Food and Nutrition Coordinator here at the FarmEd, the Centre for Farm and Food Education in the Cotswolds. We're really excited to have recently launched our first series of foodie events at FarmEd, running throughout this spring and summer. One of these is an extra virgin olive oil tasting workshop and dinner, led by Sarah Wolferstan, who's joining me today. As well as her expertise in extra virgin olive oil tasting, Sarah has 16 years of professional experience in heritage management, training and policy advice, and fundraising and project management in international development and environmental sustainability. Sarah's passion is growing olives, making and talking about extra virgin olive oil. With her Sicilian husband, she sells their family extra virgin olive oil in the UK through their company EVOO. She completed the EU-Italian Governmental Olive Oil Tasting course in 2015 and in 2016 won a prize for the Best Young Entrepreneur UK in her first year of trading, sharing both her extra virgin olive oil and her expertise. Sarah also recently qualified with an RHS Level 2 in horticulture and advises people on their gardens and food production. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
Please, can you start by telling us a bit about your background as an EVOO taster and Sicilian olive oil farmer and oil producer?
Certainly. I don't think I ever had shop-bought olive oil because I met my husband on an archaeological dig when we were both students. And then after a bit of travelling and finishing my degree, I moved to Italy and we always had his family olive oil. And so kind of when you're a student, you don't buy nice things like extra virgin olive oil. So it was just Italy and him and the oil was synonymous to me, and I lived in Rome and had this beautiful oil. And then and I was working in development and thinking about environment and sustainability. When we moved back to the UK, it started getting harder to get this oil from Italy to the UK. And again, I never really had to buy shop-bought oil. And as people got more interested in olive oil, because I think there has been a real sort of shift in the way Brits think about their diet, and they from sort of liking pasta, it's gone to knowing a lot more about the Mediterranean diet. And we started pondering how to get this olive oil, not just to us, but to our friends, because they have much more oil than the family can cope with. It's not a huge farm. Most farms in Italy are really small. They're family farms with 10 trees, 100 trees, average size is 2 acres, a hectare and a bit. Small. So they're kind of like the bit where you can't grow anything else, that's where you have your olive trees. And so that's how it all really started. It was an accident. We were trying to work out how to get the olive oil from Sicily to the UK. And during a maternity leave, we just moved to Sicily for my maternity leave, and Paolo left his job to take a bit of a punt on being in Sicily for a bit and seeing what would happen and maybe staying, maybe coming back. We were pretty sure we were going to come back. But during that year, just olive oil totally consumed us. We ended up doing courses, we got an Erasmus grant to do a business mentorship. And from just sort of trying to think about how to post it cheaply, it just took over. So that's kind of why we did the tasting course, the farm management and pruning course, and why it's sort of upped the ante from just working out a cheap way of posting to being totally consumed by the whole subject of olive oil farming and tasting and educating people about what the product's really about.
Wow, that sounds like amazing. A delicious accident to have happened.
It was quite the adventure.
And can you tell us a little bit about what it is to be an olive oil farmer in Sicily and the kind of processes that you were using, the agricultural processes that you were using?
Well, olive oil has gone through a big shift in quality in the last 20, 30 years, mainly to do with milling, the way that the olives are transformed into oil. But what has happened to agriculture in Sicily is basically it's kind of almost it's changing in the way that it's becoming intensified, like we've seen in the UK, and that has olive farms have avoided that intensification because they've always been small scale, family level, not for export. So in marginal areas, because that's where olive trees happen to be, they can grow anywhere, but because the good land was for other crops, the marginal land. So they've kind of escaped the intensification process, and much like our farm. And I think that the worst thing that's been happening to most small olive groves in Sicily is just that the soil hasn't been treated very well. It's been ploughed, and there's been an obsession with keeping the weeds at bay. But that's changing now, happily, and more regenerative agriculture is happening in upland areas in Sicily. Sicily is about 80% mountainous. So what I fear for the future of Sicily is that it's going to intensify. Olive production is going to intensify, and those traditional groves, what we think of when we think of olive farming, are going to disappear. So that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to sort of, from we're archaeologists and heritage people as well as olive oil people. So we're really keen on not making the mistakes that we've seen happen to other types of farming, food production, happen to our favourite little bit of Sicily.
Thank you. So there are lots of different olive oils in the market, even in the UK now. So how do you even begin to choose which one to buy?
Well, obviously, that's what I see my job as doing, is helping people to make informed choices, because back to the conversation, the topic we were just talking about intensification, there's some intensive olive production techniques which make a lot of oil, and then there is sort of niche, beautiful oils that come from smaller farms. And so I think you need to find out where your oil is coming from in order to really know how to buy it. But also there's a few tips that I can give you really easily to choose a better bottle, because about 70% of extra virgin olive oils, so there's lots of different categories of oil, and extra virgin is the one that's cold extracted. But even within that, if you go to a supermarket, about 70% of them are no longer extra virgin, if they even were extra virgin when they were bottled. So it's not just the label. You need to sort of have a few other cunning tips up your sleeve to be able to get the real McCoy.
Right, that's really interesting. It's similar to when you see sourdough in the supermarkets, and quite often they're not actually a sourdough. So. Yeah. And how can you tell how good an olive oil actually is?
Tasting it. That is your only way.
Right.
And actually, I can take people through a tasting process. In an hour, you will know the basics of tasting, and you'll be able to tell if it's a fresh extra virgin olive oil or if it has a defect. So those 70% either have a defect, which you can rancid or musty, you can usually identify, or they don't have all three qualities that extra virgin olive oil should have, therefore they're not extra virgin, and you can really easily smell and taste those three qualities. So that gives you a kind of framework to judge your oils. So just like you would not buy a bottle of wine again, you won't buy that oil again if you didn't find your qualities.
Brilliant. I'm so excited to try this myself. Okay, so what, in terms of health benefits, well, I guess, and taste, but health benefits, what is so good about extra virgin olive oil, real extra virgin olive oil?
Well, if it has its three qualities and therefore is an extra virgin olive oil, it will have the polyphenols that you're paying for, basically. That's why it's a slightly more expensive oil than maybe other oil choices. And the amount of research that has been done on extra virgin olive oil, I mean, there's a huge amount of research on health benefits, how it's good for your heart, that's the right cholesterol, of course, it's high in monounsaturated fats, it's got the right type of monounsaturated fats, it's got the good balance between the omegas, and it's basically, because it's at the heart of the Mediterranean diet and goes so well with those foods, they become a virtuous circle. I think that's one of the main things to kind of communicate about oil, is that if you have a rubbish diet and have extra virgin olive oil, it's not going to be a miracle cure. Yeah. But that's how it was first brought to the UK, is in pharmacies as a medicine, mainly for skin, actually. So it's really good for your skin and for your hair, even if you put it, literally onto your skin. But obviously consuming it as well, it helps you from the inside out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the Mediterranean diet, because obviously oils are used to make the fat-soluble vitamins in vegetables more bioavailable, aren't they? So obviously that's going to have a huge benefit. So maybe Jamie Oliver's right when he's glugging litres of olive oil into all his recipes. He's got a point.
Absolutely.
And when you come and do your olive oil tasting here, which I think the first one we've got booked in is for July, what's going to be happening in the session, roughly? What can people expect?
Well, we'll be tasting at least 3 extra virgin olive oils, and if I'm feeling mean, I might make people try a really yucky supermarket oil as well, because I think it's very useful to be able to tell the difference and know what you're buying, and why isn't this extra virgin at £2.50 going to have what it takes. So we'll be tasting a few oils, and I'll be talking about how I grow my olives and what sort of things we have to do to get that that oil into that bottle so that people understand the price, because I think there's a lot of variety of prices. There's the £2.50 for half a litre, and then there's the £30 for half a litre, and how do you know what you're getting? So if I explain the costing and the pricing and how it gets into that bottle, hopefully we'll be knowing when we're buying packaging and bling and when we're buying a genuine product. So I think it's important to talk about the farming and how that oil is made, but obviously we'll be learning to taste and hopefully identify defects, as well as learning how to pair the oil with different foods, because people who don't know anything about oil would just think all oil is the same. But for extra virgin olive oil, there's about 700 different cultivars in the world, and each one has quite a distinct taste, as you can imagine, like with an apple. So if one apple is not going to be so good for cooking or eating, and if you know that about apples, it's quite easy to understand how that could be the case for olives as well. So some oils are much stronger tasting than others, and essentially it's not too hard to work out how that can totally transform your dish. So we'll be learning the very basics. So there are some very sophisticated sort of sommelier techniques that I don't think we'll be going into. So don't sort of think I don't actually want to necessarily have 25 bottles of olive oil in my cupboard and know which one to pair with my X, Y, or Z dish. But if you have 3 or 4 bottles of olive oil on the go, then you can really change the way your food tastes. So it's kind of like the basic intro to olive oil: tasting, buying, and pairing, I would say, our event.
Brilliant. And I'll be putting together a dinner in conjunction with what you're going to be teaching me today, that's going to showcase the best of the olive oils you bring as well, so they'll get to enjoy a delicious dinner at the same time with fresh vegetables from the farm. And I just have one last question. For the general consumer, can you buy a good olive oil just in your local supermarket or shop, or do you need to be looking elsewhere at sort of...
No, you definitely can, because especially if you're lucky to have a Waitrose or a deli nearby, because it really has changed in the last 10 years that we've been in the UK and been interested in olive oil. I've seen a massive change in the amount of different oils that are available, and you can absolutely buy yourself a top-notch oil in a supermarket, which is why I pick supermarket oils to do tastings, because of course there are some amazing ones that you can get from online stores and farmers markets. But if you haven't got that, I don't think people should despair and then just default to the lowest because I can't get the posh one, I might as well just get the £2.50 one. No, absolutely not. And that's my real mission, because it's got to be an everyday product as well as a top-notch product. You can't just go. I want everyone to be able to afford a nice bottle of extra virgin olive oil. It shouldn't just be for the wealthy or the real knowledgeable foodies. Not all of us have the time to find out about which oil to have. So yeah, definitely you can get it.
Fab. Well, if you do want to know a little bit more about which oils to have, then if you visit FarmEd's website, we can book now. Tickets are available already, so we're really excited to have you to come and meet some of our guests here at FarmEd soon. Thanks so much, Sarah, for today.
It's a pleasure.